today we have a very special stream and guest. We have Lindsay Barnett, a fellow lifelong Cubs fan, the maven in charge of Millennials Nostalgia, and most importantly, the CEO of Playground Productions and Backyard Sports. Yeah, Lindsay. Well, hold on. Sound effects still clapping. There we go. Lindsay, I just want to say first off, thank you so much for not only bringing back Backyard Sports and my nostalgia, but also hitting me up and including me over the last year on random fun little things. So thank you very much.
I mean, we'd be silly not to include this great streamer.
Well, I hope things have been going well. I was thinking about backyard baseball and coming back as like from the video game era or side of things is I think that bringing back backyard sports and backyard baseball or and the adjacent things is maybe the hardest thing that will happen in gaming. Like from a standpoint of this game is 20 plus years old. Like no other company or game franchise has this challenge to recontextualize something made in really terrible software and hardware. Most people got it out of their cereal boxes or played it in a computer lab, so didn't have a full, maybe hands-on experience with it. But to now bring it back 2025, what is some of the hurdles that you see in doing this, but also the things that you're doing to kind of overcome the challenges of people now going from imagination land of nostalgia to reality?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think the people like you, and I'm sure there's many people who are watching your streams and in your chats right now who have grown up to be engineers or like computer programmers or have some kind of technical background. That's the reason why we have these games back. We don't have any source code for the any of those original classic titles, and what has happened to those might be we might need to do a full other series for what has happened to this source code. But through reverse engineering and CD-ROM hacking, that's how we have preserved all of those titles. I can take zero credit for doing that because I am not the engineer behind it. MegaCat is amazing, but where the creativity comes in is I certainly can give my big ideas of what I would want for the brand. And one of the things that I wanted was, how could I play these old CD-ROMs that I have that I don't have a slot for on my computer anymore? How could we do that? And it was finding great people, and many of them were original millennial fans of the game who were like, let's bring it back.
Yeah, it was fun because I just kind of started streaming it randomly around March last year. And then I, just by doing that and people seeing the videos, got in contact randomly with you, but also the whole like backyard online crew. And there's a subreddit for backyards baseball. And they all kind of hit me up and and it was fun to learn about that whole community that's been keeping themselves alive, but also the game alive in this little corner of the internet. But now that it is mainstream, or not, hopefully will be mainstream, but is entering. What I know there are challenges with, I guess, quote unquote, like the stereotypical kids in let's just say it's from a different time. Are there any, like now you're bringing it back, are there any, and I know there's a new game coming out, which we'll talk about in a bit, but is there any challenges of like kind of on the more, I guess, EQ emotional side of these stereotypical characters coming back to a modern world?
You know, I kind of am, maybe this is unpopular opinion, but who's to say that they're stereotypical? Because they're all designed for a specific reason. And anytime when I had asked people that had some kind of relation to the character, who was your favorite character and why did you pick him or her? They had a reason. And that reason always in my mind was like, oh well, that shuts down the reason that I had thought
Yeah.
that it was one way or another. And like one of my friends, I'll give the example of Marky. One of my friends is from Louisiana, and I was like, well, you know, is Marky, is he representative? He was like, Lindsay, you don't understand. Marky is exactly who I was as a kid.
Yep.
Do not change Marky.
Yep.
Like, and then he starts showing me pictures of him like in overalls playing with no shoes on, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that was exactly who you were. And he was like, that was my favorite character for that reason. And I get that with Dante, I get that with all sorts of other characters that are like, yeah, that's why we related to them.
Yeah.
So I feel like, who am I to say that? I don't think that's for me to say. I think that's for fans to say, you know, oh, we really don't like this, or this really is not representative
Yeah.
of us. And I just haven't had that experience.
I totally agree. That's just been something that a lot of people brought up, or like in streams I've seen comments of being like, oh, of course, you know, like they wouldn't make like a Pete Wheeler some of the voice lines and stuff where it's just like, it's like his whole trait is kind of like he's not intelligent. But one of the coolest things that happened with like some of the Instagram DMs that I got over the last year or so are like, even if I'm, you know, poking fun at Kenny in a wheelchair, making maybe off-color jokes about it, the people love, like the Paralympics people messaged me at one point, and then people in wheelchairs are always like, because he's one of the better characters. Like, not only is he the coolest kid, he's in a wheelchair and still play baseball, and then like in the game, it's not like he's worse or better. He's like the best pitcher. So.
Because he's got strong, you know, he's got strong arms.
He's got strong arms.
I actually love, it's a great example. I probably get the most messages about, Kenny. I feel like we've had so many Paralympians and people who are in the Special Olympics who reach out. That is probably, I mean, I think it's an overwhelming amount that is like, Kenny was the only character that represented me as a kid. And, you know, it's just, to me, that's an amazing thing. We did change, one of the things that I was conscious of, and it is a change, but we did give Kenny hair, because in some of it, he didn't have hair in the 97 games. He did in future iterations. And people didn't want to think that Kenny was sick, because he's not sick. He is just in a wheelchair. But I wanted to establish that he's still strong, he's healthy, he's good, but he has hair.
Do we have lore on what happened to Kenny?
I get asked that a lot. Like, and I almost, you know, I think I will let other people come to their own conclusions of what it is, because maybe one day we'll figure out that, and maybe one day there'll be something that story tells around it. But I also like don't want to spoil that for somebody who's like feels connected and feels like maybe they have the same condition, because, you know, there's good relatability there.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's one of the beautiful things about like the time period in which it was made. There was a little more freedom to kind of allow for stuff like that. Like, that's the other side of the coin of like the stereotypical kids, like trying to get something past where you're like, what if we had a wheelchair kid in a sports game? People would be like, that's probably going to be tough to pull off. But I mean, for the time, I think, and I've said this on stream 1,000 times, but the game is what it did is captured. I mean, the developers or people from Humongous originally, there was probably a kid that played baseball with them that was in a wheelchair, and they're like, like, and he pitched, and he was probably through filth. And
that sports model I mean, I remember this when I was playing like legit backyard sports in our backyard growing up. It was like, sometimes when you had an odd number, it was like, if there was a body, you were like, okay, you're, you know, 3 years old, you're going to be sitting over there. But like, we have even teams now. Like, we could never play without an even team for some reason as a kid. I feel like that was like a weird childhood rule of like, the teams have to be even. Go and find someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the rallying everyone in the backyard, I think you guys capture that perfectly in I think it was the trailer, or maybe just the announcement that was coming back. But just as of last week, you guys have released on Switch and PS5. I don't know if there was a.
Yeah.
Do we have a ETA on Xbox?
Great question. I should really push that back to you and all of the engineers. It's purely a source code thing. Like, we want it to be everywhere. I want to make it very clear. This is not a holdback. I want it everywhere. There would be it actually my our social media manager is like, they think we're like keeping it from them. We are trying so hard to get it on every single device. It's just that some of them, each device is like its own kind of modern system that some of them wind up, being better on, and some of them just like don't work well. And I'd hate to release a game that just to say, oh, it's on Xbox, and it winds up being terrible.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do it unless it actually runs great.
Good. Well, I mean, to expand on that a bit, my cat's here now. The engine that you're referring to, Scum, I think it was made. It's a point and click. A lot of other games like point and click adventures were built off of that.
Yes.
I think so that translates well to a system like Switch that has touchscreen enabled, but for systems that don't, Xbox, PS5, do you think not having the touchscreen for the engine not only is going to cause problems for release and stuff, but for playability, if you want, the best, you're saying the best version out there, do you find what's the challenge with having, now point and click adventure, but you have two thumbs trying to navigate the mouse movement?
PS5 works really well, but we actually had to like change up the joystick controls to make it so it was a little more seamless. It couldn't just work like a typical mouse would. And yeah, it's a constant kind of game of, no pun intended, cat and mouse of whether or not like you can have it work well. And again, like, if it doesn't work well, it's not going to be a great playing experience for the original fans or for fans who are coming to the game for the first time. Like, we want it to be great. And so every device that we have it on right now, we feel really confident about. And, we just keep getting better and better with more patches, or, people are like telling us issues that they're having. We are actually reading all of those and like immediately taking care of them and trying, but there are limitations because of the source code.
Yeah, and I have seen for the mobile version a lot of hot fixes go out for fixing certain things. I think there's been a couple like menu errors or crashes. So
yeah, the thing that's interesting, and again, like, I'm not an engineer, so I like receive this information like a normal person, not like you who understands all the technical stuff. But you can think of it as like there is one version of a PlayStation 5, or there's like one Switch 1, one Switch 2, but there are so many different versions of a phone. There are a bunch of different Androids, there are a bunch of different iPhones, and so sometimes what will happen is it works really well on the iPhone 16, but there's a crash on the iPhone 12. Yep. And so that's how it works. It's just there's more devices for us to perfect, and that's where the challenge becomes.
So do you envision backyard sports for the future of it, and the other sports in general? Do you envision that more a mobile game than consoles or PC?
I mean, I want them everywhere. I really do. It's we have the 6 games that are coming out. Obviously, baseball 97, but we have soccer 98, which is out on Steam. We have football 99, basketball 01, baseball 01, and hockey 02. Again, we're kind of playing around with where they work best and what the experience is. And then we're in production on a brand new title. Can't tell you what sport, but that we want it to be everywhere. So that we're building from the ground up. So we actually have the ability to make sure that it seamlessly works everywhere.
And that's built by MegaCat, a game dev studio. What are some of the reasons you chose or started working with MegaCat, or chose them to bring back? Because that's a big challenge, like I said, not only from the dev side, but I guess the word that came into my mind is like likeness, but like a rebranding essentially, but also keeping that same balance of old. So what were some of the reasonings of syncing up with them?
one, they had their own proprietary technology to take the old games and actually make them playable on modern devices. And it wasn't just as simple as like, they are trying to fix things that aren't possible or that weren't possible to fix without the source code. And they are really trying to add things to the game, but there are like just so many limitations. So they had the ability to do that. That was one. And from a culture standpoint, James, who runs MegaCat, he's the CEO of it. He's like, I went to tour the studio, and then he was like, I collect games. And I was like, well, I'm a collector. I collect Snoopy action figures. I was like, let me see your collection.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
collector nerd talk. And I went, and he has an entire floor of his house that is full of thousands and thousands of games. Every single baseball game that's ever been created. They have the first baseball game ever made. They have football games, every single version of every system that you've ever seen. And I was like, oh, so you actually care about preserving titles. And he's like, it's not just my life's work, it is my passion to preserve titles. And I'm like, I don't need to talk to anybody else. That's all I needed to know.
Yeah. And I'll add on to that. I've looked into some of their games after the fact of learning about the connection.
Yeah.
They also have like a little bit of humor in some of their games that I think will complement the Backyards franchise. So
yeah, James and I are like a funny duo whenever we're in the same room, because we have like we're like very energetic people.
yeah.
But like not in the way that you think. So James is like a bodybuilder but also like runs this gaming company, and I'm like a former teacher who runs it. Like nobody kind of thinks of this, and we have taken so many meetings where I am on the treadmill or elliptical and he is lifting weights, and I'm like, let's get this done. We gotta multitask. We have 16, 18 hours of the day that we are working on this. We have to sleep at some point, but like we gotta get it all in.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So you did mention MegaCat's doing all the re-releases. I know there's been a lot of challenges with that, and it's specifically around the likeness of some of the pro players, and that's kind of been what's holding it up. Has that all been cleared? I
think you are going to find out very, very, very soon.
Who was the problem? Can you just say it?
I think we underestimated. First of all, there will be maybe a couple people who aren't back in these games.
Okay, because that was my follow-up question, is what happens if they do not, they deny the use of their likeness, or it doesn't quite work out?
Yeah, so for context, all the leagues and all the players, you have to re-get the rights to. The reason why Baseball 97 and Soccer 98 could come to market so quickly was because we own all of that IP. And so just some of it, you look at like the sheer numbers. Let's take Baseball 2001. That's 31 professional players and the MLB. And so we had to try to navigate, and we've only been relaunched for 9 months. So we had to try to navigate, how are we going to get all of that back, or as much of that back as possible. So you'll see. But that's how we had to do it with football. Has the NFL, but also has, I think there's 8 players that are in that. Hockey has 10 in the NHL. Basketball has 2. So each one of those, we literally had to go. A lot of them are not in the union. So we had to go like player by player, contacting their agents or their managers, or here's a good story.
Okay.
Randall Cunningham is back in football, and love Randall Cunningham. So good. And like crucial to the game. So I was like, we must get Randall Cunningham. We wound up, someone from my team, Zach Oliver, he's our director of ops. He called Randall's church and left a message on the church phone, and got a call back from Randall saying like, hey, heard you're looking for me. I get stopped all the time. People telling me that they like loved me in Backyard 99. I've never, like, I was playing at that time, like, I want this to come back too. Like, I want to play it myself now. And like, that's how we got Randall back. It was not through like a traditional path. It was literally like, let's go hunt him down.
So if somebody doesn't come back, are we going to see like a Dairy Dawns?
Yeah, it's going to be a John Dowd situation.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah, it's going to be a John Dowd. Actually, much harder situation to also balance because, again, no source code to just be like, the name is Skwidlegs or the name is Lindsay Barnett. You have to actually like balance out the pixels have to be the same amount of pixels, and there's a syllables for when
voice lines, logos, everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like way more complicated. I'm like please just do it for the fans.
Yeah, and if somebody's in the animated intro, that'd be a nightmare.
Yeah, we would have to scrub all of that out, or replace the teams, or replace something. So yeah, but voice lines are really difficult because it would be very glitchy if it was like, or it would just like feel like kind of bad lip dub if it was moving and then it was Skwidlegs or something.
Yeah. Speaking of voices, I have a clip here I would like to play. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it, but I think you're going to maybe understand. I'm just going to play it here for the stream.
Oh, I have no idea what we're playing.
Hardy hi-ho, sports fans. I'm Sunny Day here with some big news. And
I don't hear anything. But
great. So I just giving context to the people in the video. Are you the Sunny Day voice in the trailers?
In the trailers?
Yeah. I had a hunch.
Voice?
You said something. You said backyard, and you had a little bit of a touch of the Chicago, and I was like, wait a second.
I am not Sunny Day. Was I Sunny Day?
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows if that's ever the case? Am I Sunny Day inside? Yes.
Yes.
Sunny Day.
That's a good. I mean, it's a good backyard character to be. Mine.
I want to be Sunny so badly.
Mine's unfortunately, probably Reese.
I mean, Reese is awesome. Justice for Reese.
Yeah.
There's. Oh man, I could tell you something that's gonna probably blow your mind.
Okay.
But can I or will I be Reese? That is maybe a yes.
Okay. There we go. We got something out of that swing.
Yes, Reese will be me.
That's awesome. In the new games or the I guess the new
game. I will be Reese.
Dang. Can we get a preview?
I could play on dirt or on grass, but I have to have my inhaler.
Throw a little bit like that on there. Like
amazing.
I'd be a lot better if it wasn't windy.
I could probably do. The funny thing is, the original voices were done by like 5 people.
Yeah.
And 3 of them are probably in my like voice range. So I could probably do a lot of the characters, even if I'm not officially gonna be those characters. But like I could do a Sunny Day impression that is spot on, but I'm not Sunny, but I wish I could be.
Hardy hi ho, sports fans. It's me, Sunny Day, but it's not really me. It's me, Reese Worthington.
Amazing. Being the voice of the next game or the next generation of, well, you're Reese, which no Pablo, but I mean, you're in the game, which is cool. Is there a roadmap for the Backyard Future that would include maybe the release of the re-releases, I should say, and then also the new game?
Is there a roadmap? Yes, there is a roadmap.
Is there a public roadmap?
The public roadmap that I can share is that all of those retro games will be released by the end of the year.
Awesome.
Was a little bit more of a delay than I had wanted. And the truth is, we could get everything playing. It wasn't a matter of like, we were on target for when we thought we could bring it back. It was the licensing of just making sure we could bring everything back.
Yeah, I'm excited to play to draft John Doe.
Yeah, right. John Dowd.
John Dowd.
And I love it because it's always in rankings of characters, like best players in video game history. It's always Pablo Sanchez, and then it's John Dowd. Pablo, number 1.
Of course. Speaking of the older games, or should I say the re-release, 01 and 99, I think probably my 2 favorite games because of the online factor.
Yeah.
Are we going to be seeing online this year? Because I will start tearing it up.
I think you will be very happy. I think that Steam, it works incredibly well for a Steam platform. So like the hardcore fans who know how to do it will be very happy. You know, there are some things that I'm like, oh, well, for a new game, we'll definitely improve some of the live modes, you know, but
yeah, you're not going to call someone up on your landline in the game.
I like that in I think it's in football, it actually is like a landline.
Yeah.
Nobody, like a kid would not know what that was.
I actually am really excited for online 99 football because I've done it a couple times through various paths, and the building of plays and stuff. The game's not very hard against computers, but the fact that you can build plays and kind of set things up when you're going up against another player, it provides like there's a nice little chess game that's going on there, and it's a lot of fun.
Chess is probably like the best version of that as an example, because it's like you just might not be, someone else also is on the other end making up plays, and you might be wrong for the first time. Yeah, but we have, you asked about the public roadmap. We did announce that Baseball 2001 is coming out this summer, and football is coming out in the fall. So the exact date, you'll probably learn very soon, but at least it's something. And we are in summer, so.
When's the official last day of summer? It's like September 20th. So couple months.
I guess so, but
all right.
You know.
Next couple months, Backyard 01.
Sooner.
Cool. And you did mention Pablo, and obviously Pablo's the face of Backyard Sports. Due to his belly, I think, or maybe it's just big hitting power.
He's just so great. Yeah.
What other characters are you excited about? Because I know you've been talking about like the IP of Backyard Sports as like kind of an overall thing. Movies, animation stuff you guys mentioned, maybe children's books or comic books or whatever is on your roadmap that you won't share with anybody. What characters are you really excited to see, like, to come alive and flourish in the same way Pablo did?
I think Keisha.
Keisha,
first of all, I think is like, even though people know she's great and she's, you know, it's kind of like Pete and Keisha are kind of always like 2 or 3, however you want to stack them. I'm like,
Pete's the
Keisha
best.
Who's that? What's that?
Pete's the best.
Okay, yeah. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, Keisha, I'll pick above Pete. Hot take. But Keisha, I just like hit homers with it. I mean,
the way I picture Keisha is like if they were all human, she definitely has the best career.
Oh, I feel like she is the, you know, like
she's the one who goes, and plays professional baseball or softball.
Yes.
And because her swing.
But like also she's a comedian. Like
that
is so fun of like, you know, she is this incredible hitter, but also like she's cracking jokes. And I think like in terms of storytelling, she's such a fun character to build around because like you can have someone funny.
Yeah. So she's also somebody who, or the character that I think she had 3 different voice actors from 97, 01, and 03. I think I'm going to get this confused. Somebody's going to blame me. Like she almost went like Cuban or something. And I think it might have was 03. Like, which direction is future Keisha going?
Well, I think that she'll probably revert to the 1997 version. Keisha is, a confident Black character, and that's how her voice should be.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a bunch of
Probably.
comments about the 03 voice lines. Some of them went wild.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think that we're authentically casting our characters,
Good.
which I think is very important. You know, so
Good. I was hoping that was the direction.
yes, across the board.
Great.
Across the board, because I've heard that the original Pablo also didn't speak Spanish, and I'm like, well, that needs to change.
Yeah, it was like a broken Spanish because he had fooled everybody.
Right.
Funny little lore there.
Yeah.
Are there going to be pros in the future games, or have you learned your lesson on likeness?
I can't tell you, but I know that it's something that is very popular. And what I can say is, like, we want to make sure that the backyard universe is very special. And so you will have those characters, the characters you know and love, the 30 kids on the bench, but could there be other people that pop up in the game? There has to be a reason why. And whether that's through unlockables or DLC or whatever it might be, like, there should be a reason why they're there, not just like, let's have 100 people here. And like, I'm very big into the storytelling of the universe, like who makes sense. And not everybody makes sense to be in the universe.
Yes.
And it is a comedy forward game, so I think comedy is really important. But I have a question for you.
Okay.
If you were to have somebody in the game, whether it's a celebrity, an athlete, a comedian, who would you want in the game?
I think some sort of like play I shouldn't say it's like Angel Hernandez.
Oh my god.
Okay, we'll cut that. We had to go to that was my first idea. I think somebody could fill in obviously the heinous calls that we would get.
Ask the chat who they would want.
You don't want to do that. No, I think there's a role to fill in for like coaches or parents even, that a lot of celebrities could definitely fill in on. I know a couple of streamers. I know one specifically that would definitely be a toxic coach or an estranged parent.
But I think that is backyard. Like, backyard is a comedy forward brand. And so, somebody that doesn't fit that and is going to just be like, well, if we're in the game, we have to be the best player. And Madden experiences that a lot with football, of like people calling, athletes calling, agents calling on behalf of their athlete to get like perfect stats and all that. It's like, you got to have a sense of humor if you're going to be in backyard, because it's just the way of the game. Yeah.
And that made me think the banana ball people.
Yeah. They make sense.
Makes sense. Big yellow hat, some stilts.
I mean, yeah, I think that to me is like, make it make sense storytelling wise, because if it doesn't, it's just not going to land with anybody, and they have to fit in the universe. And we're expanding it into TV and film and all this other stuff. Like, we want to make sure that we can lean into what this world is, and that's one of my like most excited things about just like building out this universe is I feel like we know these characters so well, but we've never had any storytelling with them. Like, it's kind of crazy how much and like when we do captioning contests on our Instagram every Wednesday, the captions are perfect. Like, fans know exactly what their favorite character or whatever would say, even if it wasn't like someone that they were picking. They know what they're saying, and I just can't wait to like build that. And like, for the OG fans, like, actually lean into that lore, because there's real lore in some of those characters.
Yeah, I'm excited. One of the hidden lore, I think it must be an 03 because it's Mark McGuire's like bio page where I want to say it's like he knows Pablo's older brother, or like there's all these like hidden little relations to characters we haven't met yet that I'm
Yeah.
wondering if we'll meet at some point. I hope so.
I think that definitely could happen. I'm not saying necessarily, I think that you'll get some of that because the more that you build around, like you have to know, like they have to have parents and brothers and sisters, and like there's more to that story
Yeah.
that we haven't gotten. Like even when you look at the fields and like Jacinda has all these brothers, like okay,
Mhm.
like let me learn about them. Like why? Why does she like this sport or not like that sport or whatever? Why is her nickname MVP? All that kind of stuff. Where did Clanky come from? Why is there a blimp? I think that's like one of the biggest lore stories is like, where's that blimp coming from? And
Yeah.
a million people could come up with an answer. Like, what do the parents do that just like allows these kids to just play around in the backyard all day, every day? And like, they're like a phone tree.
Yeah.
Like, how are they organizing this stuff? So I think there's a lot of questions that have always had like consistent lore over, like, and I think we're going to answer a lot of that.
Yeah, so you made me think of there's a basketball court that is like two of the houses like in a cul-de-sac. I think it's the Kawaguchi. It was the what is it? Dabaguchi.
Yes.
The Dabaguchi
yes,
where
Kawaguchi. Yeah.
it's like I was like when you mentioned like animation and stuff, I always picture Hey Arnold in my head of like, just a ragtag bunch of kids running around doing whatever quest they think of for the day. And
Hey Arnold was one of the things that like if you watched, which I know you did, but like in the trailer, Hey Arnold, the intro was one of my like biggest comps for what I was looking for, because I am a 90s kid. I love those 90s cartoons, and like having Arnold like gather up the neighborhood reminded me of like, okay, well, if we were gathering up the neighborhood here, where would people be? What would they be doing? And I was like, oh, Stephanie, who is a baseball, like, she just knows everything about baseball. She would definitely be like, it's time to play, and like grabbing all these people from the neighborhood to like get to the playground and go ahead and do it. So to me, like that was like a must. And I looked at Hey Arnold maybe 400 times during that process to be like, okay, yes, this is a great comp.
I think that's the best one-to-one, and also it's just an amazing show.
Yeah, amazing show.
So if you can emulate that in any way, like that's ideal. Or like Recess, or a bunch of those like ragtag bunch of kids. That was a very 90s thing, and maybe that's just like generational as I relate to that, but I don't think so, because I drive down my street and we got a bunch of I've been ding dong ditched too many times. That's payback though.
The thing is, like, I taught second grade for 8 years, and my students are like the best like teachers for me of what kids that age are like. And I always imagine like all the backyard kids, like the majority of them are right around that age range anyways, and then you get some like Ronnie who are younger, and then you get some like Sally who are older, or Pete who might be a little older, and you get like this elementary school range of kids from preschool from kindergarten to 5th grade. And like I have a very good sense of what kids are like in that age range, and they did it so well.
Like, they
really,
or like the Vicky the little sister who just gets dragged there because of you gotta look out for your sister.
Tony, like Angela and Tony's banter back and forth, and like and it's true of like the stat boosts and buffs too, of like some people do play better with their sibling and some don't.
Yeah. So do we have lore on what's the relation between Marky and Billy, and why
I thought you were gonna say Marky and his frog. It's funny because Hey Arnold, I always think of like Marky I always remember like Helga had like the Hey Arnold sculpture of garbage, and I was like, oh, Marky has that of like a mud sculpture of Billie Jean.
Yeah.
I think that's something like I'd love to explore more on, just because it's such a funny relationship, and like Billie Jean just could not be less interested in Marky.
So I've got more questions, and then we'll get to chat stuff. I see you guys' question here. If you guys do have questions, just type them in there, and then mods will send them over to me. Sure. First thing is, you mentioned the roadmap, which you can't look at, which
I know it's so okay. Annoying, and I want to tell everybody.
No, that's fine. I get it. But you already kind of have a roadmap, essentially, because it's been, man, I'm getting old. 20-something years since '97. 28 years since 1997. So you've already seen the life cycle of backyard sports the first time, and a life cycle that didn't pan out. What are some takeaways, maybe like the Mount Rushmore of things that you're learning from backyard sports and backyard baseball, kind of the biggest game in that franchise, of what not to do for the future?
Well, I think there's actually a lot of stuff that we've kind of learned, but there were things that were done really, really well, and anything that's done really well, we're gonna keep doing that thing. That's like as simple as it can be. Of like, in some of the later games, they got rid of characters and replaced them, and like the characters that you love are coming back, because that to me was something that, pun intended, but they hit that one out of the park. Like they got that right. And so I think I am listening very closely to what people want. And there's things that like weren't a part of the original games, but are a part of modern gaming today that, I think are must-haves. Obviously, 97 is a single-player game, and in later iterations, multiplayer was added. I think for a modern game, like that's a must for a modern sports title. Like things like that are intuitive but weren't a part of the OG are things that we're adding in. And then we're also just like leaning very heavily into the comedy. Our team and I both watch the streams. We've seen how our millennial fans and our zillennial fans like have grown up with this and what they're doing with the brand now. And like the streams are hilarious. The YouTube pages are hilarious. Like we want to keep giving them great content to create. And so that comedy is huge.
Yeah.
So I think people are going to be excited when they see like there's so many new voice lines and like new jokes and even more variety of whatever your favorite line is from your character. Like they'll have more of that and even more animations. So those are the things I'm really excited to like be able to expand on, but also like still with keeping the integrity of what the brand is.
Why do you think backyard sports or backyard baseball didn't keep its momentum from the earlier games?
Yeah, so the history of it is Humongous Entertainment had created the franchise, and that was when they had the most success, was under the Humongous emblem. They wound up selling to Atari, and Atari, it really just unfortunately got caught up in Atari's bankruptcy. And so that when you saw this like real shift in the franchise, it was when the rights got sold or, whatever happened after the Atari bankruptcy. But then it became different developers and not the same people that had kind of created the game. The good news is I think that, and also some of the rights were split up. So, someone had the film rights, someone had the video game rights. There wasn't a lot of communication across the board of how this all played out. And I think everybody was trying their best, but ultimately like a tough thing to do, especially when systems are changing too. Like you have to keep up with like, it was a PC game and now we're on the Xbox 360 or whatever it might be. So all of those things. And that's why we're really intentional about making sure we're, preserving what people like, but also like bringing in things that make it really, really great.
Yeah. I know for me, anecdotally, I remember going to, at the time, Family Video or Blockbuster and renting the GameCube version of Backyard Baseball. Be like, oh, this was the game I played on the computer. I got out of a cereal box. And then I played it for a little bit and I went, not the same. And
No. And people want to experience it in the way that they like to play games.
Yep.
And so, that's part of what I'm really conscious of is I'm an original fan of this game. Like there's like, I love this franchise so much. And, so much so that I hired a private investigator and spent all of COVID teaching, like trying to track this down. And, that was my project during COVID remote teaching. But I love this. And we have everybody on our team who loves this brand. Like this is not just like a quick, like we want to make a game and, like we're going to try to have some success point and then like leave it alone forever. Like we want to create what the Backyard Sports franchise should have been, after 2001. Like we want to take that and like really, really shepherd the legacy of it.
Yeah, I think Backyard Sports and, just Backyard Sports is in good hands. I met you guys at CubsCon. Thanks for the invite, by the way. And
yeah, it would be a bad time to say terrible hands.
Yeah,
right now.
No,
this
but
is a joke.
I think it's in good hands, and I'm excited to see where it goes. We have somebody from chat saying, "Are we getting an adult difficulty finally?"
Yes.
All right, let's fire through these questions.
Yes. We're getting an adult difficulty. We have to, because everything is, again, I want to stay true to the integrity of the original games, which is always going to give the littlest of kids the ability to learn the game. Humongous was an educational brand. It taught kids the rules of sports. We want that still, because that is the like entry point to be a super fan of something and really love it. But our fans have now grown up and we need to make it fun for them too. And so, yes, I like to call it super gamer mode.
Yeah. Also, kids are gamers now. They grow up playing games.
Yeah. Like the kids are gamers. Also really funny. I would love to see one professional athlete that does not strike out on their first pitch. One. I've never seen a professional athlete that gets it on their first time. I mean, you saw that when you're at our booth at CubsCon. The kids were destroying the Cubs, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I saw a few of them whiffing multiple times. Yeah, whiffing multiple times.
Yeah.
That's good, though. PCA can continue putting up runs for the Cubs, and I'll be okay.
To say it's the power of Pablo. What happened when the whole Cubs met Pablo? I mean, they're having like a great season.
I don't want to jinx it. I don't really want to. We should stop talking about it. It's going well.
Manifest it. Pablo.
Hyped from chat says, when will Star Moonbeam become the main face of Backyard Sports? And I'll fluff this one up a little bit here. The Antagonist kids, they're all kind of, I think they're referred to in like the community as like the clones or generics. And with Star Moonbeam is a code clone of Pete Wheeler. But are we going to get more development on that side of the field?
I want to. And that I think the generic kids, this is just an example for our like millennial fans, but I always think of Pawnee and Eagleton from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
That's how I imagine, like, it's like these kids live in this neighborhood and these kids live in that neighborhood, and they have to be better developed. And I think like that's really fun. And that's one of the things that I notice and I read on the Reddits is like the love of Star Moonbeam and Chico Papas and like all these fun characters that people want more on. And I want more too.
Great. I'm so excited for that. There are so many kids on the clone side or generic side that it's like you can't hack the game and draft them and get them on your team. And some of them are so good.
Yeah,
and
so good.
and they have their own little personality going on. Like
Yep.
Artie Pimbleton, I think, is one of them that I've got a ongoing joke with. But Chuck Downfield, funny enough, asked in the chat, are there gonna be about the new commentators besides Buddy Check? Will other commenters like Abner Doubleplay, Eric Stream, and possibly Jack Fowler get cameos or maybe even be playable?
It could happen.
Okay.
I mean, I can't tell you what sport we're working on right now, but you know, it definitely could happen. And I think that that's also something I've really noticed is the love for the commentators. Like I started off at the very beginning, Sunny Day is one of my favorite characters from the whole franchise. I think like and whoever's sitting next to her, I think like brings such a life to whatever sport it is. But I just think like we have to know more, and like I want to know more. Like to me, that would be so cool if you could like
Yeah.
figure out more with those guys and girls.
Yeah, I'm very excited for the re-releases, but I would have to assume the new game is baseball, just from the success of the older ones, or it's a hub game,
Poker face right there.
or it's a hub game where there's all the sports. And someone had an idea in chat a couple weeks ago, or like during the Olympics, it was like if you could have the Olympics backyard game where there's just a bunch of Olympic games. I'm just pitching ideas here.
All great ideas. All great ideas.
Oh, there's something that I could probably just tell you. I'll just tell you now. I was gonna text you this. The Twitch the categories on Twitch and the other streaming sites, those got to be consolidated. There's like 40,000 backyard baseballs. There's backyard baseball. There's a different spelling of backyard baseball, 01, etc. There's like 10.
Okay, noted. And let me.
Yeah, I don't know if that's on you or if that's on Twitch or whatever, but
let me text them right now.
Okay.
Exactly. I want to do it live. I want
okay. Yeah.
This is what happens. Can we consolidate the Twitch tags to just backyard sports or backyard whatever the sport, insert sport here. Done. Sent to the developers.
Right to Dan Clancy himself.
There we go.
Great. And then
right
there we go. You mentioned kids coming back. We talked about announcers. We also talked about problematic names and possibly. My question is Vinny the Gooch my favorite important character to the franchise? Is he coming back?
I mean, you saw him in the trailer, right?
Yes.
Vinny is essential to it. He is also, fun fact, my almost 93-year-old grandma, that is her favorite character in the game.
That makes so much sense.
Vinny has to be there. She thinks it's so funny. So she always wears red with like big glasses.
Yeah.
And she goes, "That's my twin," and I'm like, I love that.
That's awesome.
Everything about that. She's like, that guy. Put him on a pin for me. So yeah, Vinny is essential.
Awesome. I agree. I mean, so much. You talked about something that was like, there's not much information on the kids, but there's enough there to where your imagination just fills in every blank associated with it. But somehow all our imaginations are synced up.
Right.
And I think I don't even know what that is. Some sort of weird philosophy thing happening. But the Vinny the Gooch is my favorite. Like, what does this kid do in school? Like,
I got an answer from the developers. Yes, they said they will work on that.
Yes, finally.
So see, this is how we work. We are
Good.
like, I like to just intake it, ask right away. I don't have the skills to do it, but I can find great people who will.
Awesome. Well, we're coming up on an hour here. I don't know how much time you have or where you're.
However much they need, but yeah, ask away. You want to have a couple more questions?
Yeah, sure. Let's see here. Chuck Downfield again. I think we're getting good questions out of somebody who is fully committed to the bit.
I love it.
Will there be attempts to appeal to a middle of the road market? Not kids, not or millennials that grew up with it, but a more wider appeal, like teenagers, especially It actually expands this, especially those who have to be neurodivergent. But I think that's kind of where the question ends.
It's a great question. So the Backyard Sports title that we're working on is designed as the most accessible sports game on the market. And it's very intentional. I am, like I said, I'm a teacher by trade. I have worked with students. I've also worked with students of all different types. And that's really important to us to make sure that like anybody can come to this and it's a true E for everyone game. But also, if you're not a kid and you're an original fan or you're a teenager or you came to for the franchise later, that you have something. And I like to comp it with Mario. Like Mario Kart is a game that people play on different levels. They play it, they have different experiences with it. But I played Mario when I was a little kid. I also can play it right now and have a different experience playing.
Yeah, I think that's a good comparison. I think that's it. I see a couple more, but I think we answered a lot of good questions. We talked about everything that I want to talk about. The future.
I'll come back again.
Perfect.
Don't worry.
Hopefully, we'll definitely when the newer game we start to get more information.
Maybe when one of the new releases happens, I'll be back soon.
All right. Well, if the next ones coming out are 01 and 99 football, well, maybe we'll have to run it in online 1v1.
Yeah. There we go.
Promote some online. Well, guys, if you're watching, you can get it on Switch and PS5. Xbox, hopefully soon to come. We don't have a date, but right now, and of course Steam. And I'm sorry, I'm trying to do promo here. I don't. You might be better at this.
On mobile.
In mobile, yes.
Backyard Baseball 97 now available on Switch 1 and 2 because backwards compatible. PS5, Android, Apple, and of course Steam. Backyard Soccer 98 out now on Steam. Look at that. It's like Perfect. I've done that before.
Yeah. I started doing it. I was like, wait a second, what am I doing? Lindsay, thanks so much for hanging out today. I really appreciate it, and so excited for the future.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.